Hey, folks. Today on Well, we're going to have a very important conversation. Now, this is applicable in business and in our everyday life, and it's equally as valuable in both. And that's don't let your, especially as adults. Let's clarify, as adults, because here's what's happening a lot today. This is what I'm gonna tell you what's happening today in real time, all around us. Everyone, no one's exempt. It's all around us. Adults are allowing their feelings to betray them, um, and that's an issue that's become very, very destructive. And what we have to do is we have to. It's an imperative. Don't let your feelings betray you. We have to control our feelings. Otherwise, our feelings will control us. Every one of us. Now, there's different levels to it, and we all have different mechanisms. We're all built, different. We have different makeups, that run the spectrum. But one consistent reality, especially for those who reach a high level of success in life and in business, and we have to say, well, let me take a step back. And one thing that they all have in common is they control their feelings. Now, they're not exempt. They're not, maybe the most intelligent people. They might not be the, you know, most even balanced people, but they know how to control their feelings typically for most parts. And if they know themselves well enough to know that they can control their feelings, they monitor themselves and they don't put themselves in places and positions to where they're going to portray them, themselves by their feelings, because they know that they can only control their feelings to a certain level. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, where am I at? Do I allow my feelings to betray me on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? The sad fact is, if you're not doing something that you know you should be doing, or something that you need to be doing, but you're not doing it, you're holding yourself back, there's a good chance that your feelings are betraying you. You're monitoring yourself to, I can't be around these people. I can't do this. Here's the reality. Well, might not be for you. And let's be honest with ourselves. Everything is not for everybody. Everything's not for me. Everything's not for me. I can't do everything. I know I'm honest with myself about that, though. You have to be honest with yourself. If you cannot control your feelings, communicating with a lot of people is probably not for you. Being in public spaces is probably not for you. And it's not to anybody in particular. This is for so many people, because here's the reality. It's all around. And I deal with a lot of people. I've dealt with a lot of people, and one common denominator is there's a palpable fear that they have that holds them back from dealing with this one or this one or this one for their businesses, and it's keeping them from pursuing what their business needs. Now, in a business context, your business, as a fiduciary of your business, and this is not a business conversation today, but I just want to use this as an example. But as a fiduciary of your business needs to be prioritized in a way to where your feelings cannot dictate what that business needs. Your feelings can't. It can't. Because the reality of it is you can't grow your business, especially not in this market, in this shifting, changing market today. Woo, you really can't if you are unable to balance in and control your feelings and what drives you and what stimulates you and how people can get at you or whatever, simply by saying something that you don't want to hear. Here's the reality. But in just everyday life, you're gonna hear what you don't want to hear, especially in today's society where everybody can can curate everything that comes into their ears as if, guess what? This is pretty relatively new in human existence. This wasn't always the case. Not even in, far back, 20, 30 years ago. You had to be subjected to hearing things you didn't want to hear, and you had to go forward as an adult, and you had to make the determination. You still had to, show up and produce and progress, irrespective of your feelings. So today, let's let's not let our feelings betray us, because here's the reality. What's betrayal? Betrayal is to be, something turning against you, someone turning against you, or something turning against you. That was once with you, but now it's not with you anymore. It once had your trust, now it no longer has your trust. That's your feelings, and that's what yourself and your feelings betraying you. They're turning around on you. Once upon a time, your feelings, drove you and, kept you alive and everything, especially depending on how old you are, kept you alive for a long time. Survival instincts kept you alive, kept you out of a lot of trouble. Great. Here's the thing. If, you're aging, you're evolving, times have changed, the same feelings will betray you if you continue to, employ them the same way. You have to be able to grow. You have to be able to grow. If you're still living, that's the thing. When you stop growing, you're dead. And that's just life. That's not me. That's just life. When you stop growing, you're dead. Now, and a lot of people are walking around, like zombies, I guess, they're dead and just not buried. Here's the reality. Don't let your feelings betray you. Don't let your feelings be the driving factor that's holding you back, because you can't control your feelings, because I can't take what they're saying to me. I can't take, confrontation. Here's the thing. Conflict resolution is a real thing. If you're not able to do it, you need to go spend some time and practice that in private before you come out to the world. Let's go practice that. And intentionally, as an adult, we have to exercise. I've got to exercise in a few minutes. If I don't exercise, I don't get the results, period. I can think about it all I want, but if I don't actually do the exercise, guess what? I don't get the benefits of the exercise. And that's what you have to do. You have to exercise, what's driving your feelings, because it's holding you back. Today, you can't afford to be held back by your feelings. There's a lot of things holding us back from a lot of things, but you cannot afford to allow yourself to be held back by your feelings. Your feelings are holding you back. You cannot afford to let your feelings hold you back. Not today. No, look, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So, message today is don't let your feelings betray you. Let's get together and say, well, maybe I never thought about it like that. Let me get in the mirror. Let me reflect. Let me get me in order, because guess what? Your feelings are going to get hurt, but you got to keep pushing. You got to keep going, especially in this evolving world, and this evolving economy, and things are changing rapidly. There's a lot of things. It's 2026. It's halfway through the year 2026. Might as well start calling it 2027, because here's the thing. 2030 is right around the corner, and if you don't like it now, you ain't going to like it then. Because trust me, there's a whole lot going to be changing. And if you're not ready for a lot of things changing, a lot of people are like, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to talk to that. Guess what? What about when all the work's off planet? I said it, off planet. What about when all the work that's available, is off planet? What about then? Oh, now how your feelings going to be? So let's get together, let's have a conversation. Like and share this video. Subscribe to our podcast here, at Food by the Word Media to Well. And let's have this conversation. Leave some comments down in the comment. Let's stimulate this conversation, because here's the thing: as adults, we cannot allow our feelings to betray us. And this is the time when we got to really get together. Just even in order to work together, we got to get ourselves in order. Because here's the thing: you can't work with anybody else if everything hurts your feelings. So talk to you later. God bless.